It's almost like a tube top, but it's like smaller.
So it's like you're using like a tube top as a hair tie thing?
I mean, it's a hair tie, but it's just like...
It's like a tube sock version of the... Okay. Interesting. I was digging the pattern on it. It's kind of like mind bending. Oh, so this morning I read about this scientist who they were like doing scans of, I can't even remember, some galactic or galaxy cluster 250,000 light years away or something like that, and it was emitting 3.5 kilo electron volts of electricity. It's this wavelength that they couldn't attribute to any mass. He was like, "What's this?" And so they looked deep into this giant cloud of gas and galaxies, because that's what it is. It's like a nebula of galaxies. And they can identify these different wavelengths, and this one that keeps coming back up. And so they get the Japanese satellite to look, X-ray telescope to look into this cloud too. But it's got like a different focusing array. So it's doing this broadband thing, and it's not finding it. So they're like, well, maybe it's a mistake. But they go back. They find out that it's not a mistake. And it turns out that what they're seeing is X-ray emission from black holes. And they're able to do like this contrast and almost like a sum and difference comparison to pull the data so they can pinpoint to this energy coming out of the black hole. And so it's like, like version 2, this is how we detect black holes now.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So not just redshift and gravitational wave analysis, but now we can also do it with X-ray emission.
Damn.
Pretty soon we're going to find them all, and then we're going to find out something like, oh yeah, dark matter is like the crap that they spew out that we can't really detect because it's dark matter. And like the dark energy that surrounds it is the stuff that propels it out, and eventually, it turns into the static or whatever. It turns into static.
Well, for whatever reason, I mean, not for whatever reason, but it was like assumed that nothing could get out of them for a while, which is what it was like. Hawking radiation.
Yeah, but I think that's like, that just, so ever since I read that story, Ringworld, where the alien race is like laughing at us for creating the physical law that you can't exceed the speed of light. They're like, why would you do that? It's like, well, maybe there's something about black holes that we've created rules that, don't apply in the black hole. And we are just wrong about it because we can't really know, because we can't get close enough.
Yeah.
And we can't really get accurate readings because we're so fucking far away. That's the stuff that's just like, I wish I really could see, like, just wish we could see that stuff.
I mean, theoretically, we can make one.
Yeah.
Like, it's just the potential dangers, because I know they do them where they like snap right back out of existence immediately, so they test them, but it's like anything bigger than those would be...
Yeah, but they're designed to consume themselves almost instantaneously, and just to generate enough data to get to the next, to let us know what happens right after the previous data set was recorded.
Yep.
But even then, it's like, it's still a complicated proposition. All that stuff is it's what was it? One of my buddies was talking about. We were talking about the squirrel. They got trapped in the Hadron Collider and caused the thing to freak out. They didn't know about that. And I'm kind of, I want to know what happened that day. Like, what happened? What kind of readings did you get with a squirrel on the thing? Because that surely something, having like a small bundle of iron, like, on their laboratory, supposed to be clean device. What did it do? And it's not really like, I mean, I know that it probably corrupted the data, but it did something.
Yeah.
Something happened. I realize that's not an important thing to know.
Well, if anything, it probably just threw off the, like, equipment calibrations, because, like, whenever the bird dropped a piece of bread in it, it wouldn't work. So it's like shit like that where you're like, a fucking piece of bread shouldn't break it down, but it's like
a squirrel. I mean, how does it even get in there?
I mean, squirrels have taken out fucking power grids, you know, and it's like,
okay, so if our black hole machine, if a squirrel can take out a black hole or a power grid, what does it do to a black hole machine? Like,
yeah.
I mean, what happens when you scroll into a black hole? Does it like go poof, or is it more of a? Does it just disappear? What happens when you throw, like, you know, a pie into the black hole machine?
And then,
is it like a?
I imagine that these things are so, like, the mass is so irrelevant that it wouldn't do anything, probably. Like, unless we're talking about, like, a nuke or something. That's
No,
like,
I mean, just for the sake of like novelty, like, if you throw a pie at it, does it just like vanish, or does it like you just get?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, with the mass of the black hole that they're using, like,
I see what you're saying.
The two probably wouldn't interact even.
Yeah, because they're just doing it to take measurements.
Yeah.
In a very tiny controlled space.
Probably much on like a photonic scale, if any, like, if even.
Yeah, I watched it was like an animation on like mass condensed to a certain point. There's a point where it condenses down, where it crosses the threshold and becomes a black hole. But they were trying to illustrate the size, and it was something like the Earth turns into like a grain of sand or something like that, and the sun has to condense down to the size of like Manhattan before it has the mass is so tightly packed that it has those properties. But if it doesn't reach that density, that it's just a really dense object, which is kind of amusing. It has to cross the threshold. Mm-hmm. But then it makes me wonder, it's like, well, what's the curve like beyond the threshold? I mean, obviously we know supermassive black holes, but how does it actually expand? But I've seen the animations, and it's like, okay, well, I kind of get this really abstract, you know, sun the size of Manhattan, the Earth the size of a grain of sand, but not really, because the Earth is super massive compared to a grain of sand.
There's a supermassive black hole at the center of the Milky Way, which is like, it's all the other shit is rotating around that black hole.
Yeah, so it's strong enough to contain the fucking.
Yeah, which is where.
And like the black hole at the center of galaxies has like, a star has like 98% of the mass, or 99% of the mass of the solar system. So is that the same kind of thing, where the black hole represents like roughly 99% of the mass of the?
I think so.
Holy shit, that's like unbelievable.
Which is, I mean, I think
that's like that's one of those unfathomable concepts. Like
how much energy that is.
Yeah. Just, and then the fact that X-rays can escape that. I mean, the X-rays are pretty potent.
Or the membrane of a black hole is
permeable.
Yeah, in the sense of like the membrane is only so thick, or the spacing is only so thick. possible that what we consider X-rays escaping, quote unquote, is really the exterior layer, like vibrating or rotating into a medium that we still don't understand, and causing that.
It could be the emission from the accretion disk.
Yeah, exactly. Like, as if,
because it wasn't a pulsar. It's a very. They're like, hey, what's this? It doesn't correlate to anything. And that was the only thing they could correlate to, I suppose. I read it really early this morning. I enjoyed it a lot because it was like one of those like, oh, cool.
yeah.
We're using one really sharp eye and one really like wide vision eye to like computational photography the shit out of this. It was because the wide array
Oh shit! I forgot.
wasn't able to break through the density of the gas or something like that to see inside it.
I went back and rewatched the Silver Surfer cartoon series.
Oh yeah.
And there's a whole lot of overlap with like Thanos, Nebula, and Gamora and the Skrulls. That's where I was like, oh shit, I think this is...
That's the one where he's like going around space and there's a like one of is it Gamora who's like floating, or a white statuesque looking thing. He's like, Gamora, oh Gamora.
Oh, that's Death, or I don't know if he calls her Death, but Thanos. It's his statue that he's like in love with.
Yeah.
Gamora's like, she's not quite the same looking as in the...
No, they're not the same at all. Like, Nebula doesn't look the same at all. They all look different.
Well, yeah, Nebula
back when
looks
Thanos had a hat.
similar, but not this. Yeah, it's like, well, if any, yeah, he's definitely got the hat, but I was gonna say, like the face and like the fucking scars and shit.
Yeah.
Like he looks.
Well, he's like part like abomination, right? He's like a hybrid creature.
No, he's not a hybrid. He's a mutant from Titan in the sense that his race was beautiful people, but then he had like a mutation that made him ugly, and like his brother's superpower is that he's like persuasive and can make people like fucking like do anything they want because he's like,
I feel like
charismatic.
I feel like when I was little, I remember
It's
reading
like,
something like as Thanos is like an abomination or something like that. Maybe it was just mutant.
Well, his race considers him an abomination.
I'm probably remembering like a specific like frame from when I was like 10 years old, like in a comic that I haven't seen in 30 years almost.
Mm-hmm.
And so, bear with me.
Oh, yeah. Well, but that's why I think they're gonna introduce his history, because what we're gonna actually end up probably doing is like learning to empathize with Thanos, because of the way he was treated on his planet. So like the original thing is,
he's actually not a bad guy in a weird grand scheme.
He's definitely a sociopath.
Yeah,
but his people made it worse, because he was like killing animals when he was a kid. Like when he was like 5 or something, he like killed a cat just because he wanted to see it die or some shit.
Wow.
So he was like displaying these tendencies, but then when he became a teenager, everybody was like completely ostracizing him because he was ugly, and then he became like a full-on hateful sociopath. At least that's how they did it in the comics. And then they bring in the whole obsession with death, and like then he wants to impress her. So then it becomes like he has this romantic interest that makes him obsessed with killing all these people to impress her. So that's where it is like it's ignoble and noble at the same time. But that's why he's a complex character.
So you see Thanos as being a recurring character moving forward. You don't think they'll kill him?
Yeah.
They can't kill Thanos yet because they haven't introduced Adam Warlock yet, and they haven't killed the Living Tribunal.
Nope. So people bring him back for that.
Yeah, he has to.
So I think what they're doing is they'll probably set up the Living Tribunal for Phase 4.
Like the transition.
And then set up Galactus for Phase 5. Is what I'm thinking they'll do.
So at some point they'll have to acquire Fantastic.
Yeah. And in the process, they'll set up the scrolling bit, and that's why I wanted you to see it so we can talk about that shit. As far as like, I think that's what they're going to do as far as like Phase 4 and 5.
I totally agree with this because when I read Secret Wars, it happened before I read Infinity Gauntlet, and so in the messed up timeline of Marvel that I understood as a child, which I couldn't possibly have understood, like Secret Wars precedes the Infinity Gauntlet because they have to introduce X-Men so that they can also be a part of Infinity Gauntlet. And there are all these other things that have to happen that haven't happened. Like, to me, Infinity Gauntlet's not supposed to happen.
Right,
it's
yeah.
Like,
they made it happen without the X-Men, which is also why they have the potential to reset everything with Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And then,
it's funny, things that I absolutely want to happen with a unified Marvel universe. I want to see Magneto doing his flying his rock through space, his asteroid M. I really want to see that. I want that story almost as much as I want, Wolverine and the Hulk.
Yeah.
Because that's really how we get Wolverine. That's really how we get Wolverine. And then that's also how we really get Deadpool, right? Who else did they send after the Hulk in that one? They made a cartoon where they have Deadpool and Sabretooth going after the Hulk also. It was part of the that pre-Disney MCU. I think it was a Lionsgate animation where they have the Hulk is just, let's see, what Wolverine keeps saying, you smell toxic.
What was the name of that one?
It's Hulk versus Wolverine. Bruce, you don't know anything about it.
Oh. Is it just Hulk versus?
Maybe.
Because I think I do remember that one.
Yeah, they also have him. He also
I don't think I saw it. But
yeah, he also goes up to Asgard and wrecks the place, and Hela almost steals Bruce Banner and leaves the Hulk this raging monster without any Bruce. And it's cool because he basically goes up and they work it out. There's a big old fight. Thor has to kick his sister's ass in her own kingdom, which is kind of really, dude. There's that whole generation of pre-Disney MCU stuff that I really actually enjoy, because the cartoon of Doctor Strange is fun. The cartoon of Iron Man is fun. And there was another Iron Man cartoon they made. It was what was it? It was an anime, and it's where they introduce his nanite setup. And it was cool because it was
Ultimate Iron Man?
No, it was
oh no, that wasn't.
The antagonist was the son of Obadiah. The villain from Iron Man 1. Right? Well, apparently his kid is also some kind of technology genius and creates a suit that can take over everything. And so it's like a nanite system. And so, of course, Tony has his own nanite system, and so there's this conflict of nanite tech. It's actually kind of a cool story. It's hard to watch though, because it's more animated than Iron Man, and so there's this really kind of heavy anime style psychological mind-bending aspect to it that I don't think is present in Western animation storytelling style. I mean, there's a lot of intensity in Western animation, but it's not the same.
No, it's definitely not the same. Like, Western animation wasn't giving people epileptic fits.
Yeah.
That just wasn't happening.
Yeah, well,
And Fist of the North Star came over.
nobody was ready for Fist of the North Star.
No.
I think I was warned. It's like, hey, you might freak out. It's like, whatever. And then,
Yeah, it was so over the top.
But now it's just like,
Yeah, it's like nothing.
yeah. God, how they've desensitized this.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like you were saying. Like, I don't think of the MCU stuff as all that brutal because there's no blood, and the reality is it's incredibly brutal. And I was watching. I was just looking at cartoons. They're all pretty heavy duty. Oh, what was it? The intro, the trailer to Frozen 2. There's a scene where they're walking around and this chick just grabs some guy's sword out of his sheath and slashes at the camera. It's like, that's pretty hardcore. Like that, and she didn't look friendly.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
And it's like, just because it's like with Incredibles, they're all rubbery, but I know that the villain is like super hardcore because they're riding on some giant robot thing that has a War of the Worlds style fusion beam for a weapon. I feel like we've got a really, really interesting. So we've got a really well laid out Marvel universe, and I think that we've got a really interesting like path actually into the future of Marvel.
Well, because then also they're talking about making Valkyrie Thor.
Cool. Why not?
Which that would be like. Then they'll probably do.
Are they gonna give her? Is he gonna create a new Mjolnir for her, or is she?
Probably, and he'll probably become like.
Well, he's Odin.
Yeah.
He already has become Odin. They just haven't really given him the
title, right?
Yeah, because he's not sitting on the throne of Asgard, but he's got Stormbreaker. That's like, a king's weapon. It channels the Bifrost. I think that was the best part. Like when he comes riding in with it, it's just like, boom. Yeah, what's his name? He was like, he's like, you could channel the Bifrost with it. But it's interesting because that's also, I thought that was also the weapon that Beta Ray Bill wielded.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and they had his skull, they had his head on Grandmaster's domain. So like.
Oh, he's already out of the picture then.
Well, he's been in the picture. We don't know if he's dead or not. We at least know that he's been on the planet and fought.
Yeah.
Like as one of the grand champions. Like
he's like I always liked his character a lot. It's like who's this dude that's waylaying the Hulk? Who's this dude that can kick the crap out of Thor? Like this dude's a badass. Holy crap, he picked up Mjolnir. This horse-faced motherfucker's tough as hell.
Oh shit. Now, I think we could also talk about Titans too, because they're gonna bring in Superboy.
Really?
And then Deathstroke.
Well, Deathstroke is the classic enemy of the Titans.
I think they might bring in Lobo's daughter.
Wait, Lobo's that alien fucking biker.
Yeah.
Dude, he's so cool.
Yeah,
he's so fucking cool. Didn't he he wore the mantle of Superman in outer space for a while or something stupid like that because Superman needed help or something like some dumb shit. So in his mind, he and Kal-El are friends, but he's like crude and has no class at all and just wrecks every place he goes because he's just a space biker. But he and Kal-El are homies, like, when they see each other, it's like, bumps and shit.
Oh shit, have you watched any Doom Patrol?
No.
Oh my god, it's fucking awesome, man. It got really...
Does it get really weird?
It's always been weird. It's like been weird from episode
Okay, I haven't seen any of it.
Well, are you familiar with Mr. Nobody then? Because it's like the way they do his special power, it kind of makes Deadpool look like elementary, like in the way, like, you know, obviously Deadpool breaks the fourth wall, but in one of Mr. Nobody's powers, it's like he narrates things into existence, like, so
that's like a Green Lantern level power.
Yeah. But not only that, the people in the show can hear him if he's talking about them, and we're watching him at the same time. So like, he'll talk to the audience and the person, and then they'll be like, who the fuck is that voice? Like, where's that coming from? And it's like, and he'll keep on talking, and it's like, yeah, the way they set it up.
So I read that the whole division of Earths within DC, they've decided that it was never gonna work, and that they're gonna repair it, and that the crux of it all is that Dr. Manhattan prevented the first Lantern from becoming the Lantern. So instead of grabbing the Lantern on a train, they Dr. Manhattan apparently moves the Lantern, and so the first Lantern never happened, and so the Justice Society of America never forms. And that's the thing that changes and creates all of these other versions of reality. But they're gonna fix it apparently, which I think is interesting because I did not know that was the crux of it all. I didn't realize that because and apparently this is a common concept, is that Superman is like the thing that binds the universes.
Well, they reset it, like they started doing that in the early '80s, I believe.
Yeah.
And it was like, I think it was the original Infinite Crisis or something that was the one with Superman.
Yeah.
And once they started that one, then they started doing it like every 7 to 10 years.
Okay.
So it's like, then they did 0 Hour with the Lantern.
Yeah.
Then they did it with Manhattan, I think, like 10 years after.
Well, Manhattan was the current.
Right,
new position.
Right,
or
exactly.
Like that.
Manhattan is the one that did the new 52, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and so now
they're gonna reset that.
They're gonna reset that by restoring the original Lantern.
Yeah.
And apparently that.
Oh wait, there was one more. There was one more after the first Lantern, before Manhattan. It was the which crisis was it? I think it was like the second Infinite Crisis, because they did the or maybe it was Crisis on Infinite Earths or something. Like they may have like slightly change the name.
They can take as many liberties as they want because it's a comic book story universe.
Well, but the issue is that the way that they set it up is that DC would have an overarching storyline for the entire universe, and then everyone would have their individual storylines. So the writers would have to come like that. The writers' meetings would happen once a year, where they would set the year-long arch.
Yeah.
Or however long, and then they would do these major resets every 10 years. Because this is like learning about the writing process. So that's the huge difference between how the Marvel shit happened versus DC.
Yeah.
It's like a lot of the Marvel stuff would then happen just in individual silos, but then once they would have like a big event, it was like everybody came together and did it still.
Yeah.
But it was like DC's were once a year, pretty much everybody had, like, because then it was like Action Comics. They had Action Comics, they had Superman, like Justice League, and then there was like Superman would appear in like 3 or 4 different things, and then Batman would appear in like 3 or 4 different things, and they would all have to align up, and that's why it would be like.
Yeah, because they'd have timeline events that were consistent.
Yeah.
That were episodically consistent.
Yep.
Because they want to have, the same technology. They don't want to have disparate technology between timelines within the same year.
Yep.
Gotham can't be super future advanced while Metropolis is stuck in the 50s.
Or you can't have like Lois and him breaking up in one storyline, and the other writers don't know about it. Like,
oh yeah,
like shit like that.
But you could have Lois hooking up with Bruce, and the other team not knowing. That's just wrong, though.
Yeah, because then for a while, weddings and deaths were hot. Like Jean Grey and Cyclops' wedding.
Yeah.
Fucking
Spider-Man and Jean Grey got wed, or not Mary Jane got married. And then what was it? Venom raped her or some shit.
Oh really? I don't know.
Yeah, there's this whole thing where Spider-Man comes home and Mary Jane's wearing her bedding attire and it's all torn up and she's beat the fuck up, and he's wearing he's wearing a black costume still, and she sees him in it and freaks out because she thinks it's Venom who had just been in there, and who knows what he did. But I mean, let's be real. Venom's not a nice person. If Venom left someone alive, it was because he's leaving a message.
I feel like they would have been explicit about it, because fucking Sabretooth raped what's her name,
Silver Fox.
Yeah. And they definitely made it it wasn't an explicit scene, but it was very, very well very well known that it was it wasn't inferred, which is where I mean again I just fucking
I don't actually remember, because it was one of those things I read it was an anthology of all of the stories that comprised the Peter Parker Mary Jane wedding storyline, and then there was the black costume storyline where they condensed a bunch of stories into one book, and so I'm sure that there were some things that didn't make it into those. I'm sure that the things that were involved in other stories that were just just there because update.
Well, because I'm trying to, that might have been a new updated version.
It would have been in 1989 when I bought the thing, so It was probably a story like everything that led up to that. So it's probably everything from the year before.
Well, because I'm trying. Well, the only reason I say that is because he couldn't have had the black costume at the same time as Venom in the original storyline. Because the whole reason Venom became is because he fucking. He started
for a
being
brief
a
period of time
douchebag.
afterwards, he wore a black costume made of cloth.
Oh right, yeah.
There was it was a very short-lived thing, and,
right.
it came to an end with this encounter where he comes home and Mary Jane's just like bloody, cut up, fucked up looking. Her nightgown is all torn up, and that's the end of Peter Parker wearing a black outfit. He goes back to wearing the good old classic, like, I'm back outfit. That was like, yeah, nobody wants to see Mary Jane beat up. That's like, who's gonna pay to fuck her?